Hello, welcome back to my library. Hello, welcome back. I'm Barbara. This is my library. So glad you came to visit. So glad to have you here. Love it. Today in the library, we are talking about books that remind me of back to school season. You know, like have a back to school vibes. Books I think would be nice towards the end of the summer. I would say I've read half of them. Some of them I have not finished reading, and then some I haven't read at all. So there's a good display in here, I think. We're gonna start off with Ace of Spades by Frida Abiki Edemene. I read this a couple of years ago. This is about two students. We have Chimamanda and Devin. They go to a very fancy, prestigious private school. They're the only two black students. Chimamanda is there because her family has money. Devin is there on scholarship, and even though they're the only black students in school, they've never interacted. Chimamanda is definitely like hanging out with the popular white kids, and Devin is just keeping his head down, just trying to get his education and get graduated, you know. School starts, hence back to school. There's a group text sent to all the students from ACE. I forget exactly what it is, but it's basically like bullying, blackmail, you know, sending out photos and things like that you might not want the whole student body to see. It's a whole thing, and then they got to figure out who ACEs is, and there's some twisty turny bits. I did enjoy this when I read it. I think I would want to read it again now that it's been a few years. It's one of the first things I read when I got back into reading, but I do remember enjoying it, and I do think it would be fun to read this around this time since I think it opens on the first day of school. So Ace of Spades. Next up, we have a book that I read in my youth that I would like to reread, but it's been decades. It's been a decade. I'm not quite that old. It's A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. This follows a girl named Gemma who is living with her mother in India in the 1800s. Her mother dies. She is sent back home to England. She is sent to a finishing school. There's a bit of magic and mystic around this. Some things happen. It gets a little cuckoo, otherworldly. I just remember this being a fun, like, boarding school, being in class, being around other students. Next up on my list, which is very similar to A Great and Terrible Beauty, we have A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed. I read this on audiobook years ago when I was paying for service, and I had all these credits build up, and I was like, I should probably use the service that I'm paying for. And this was one of the first books that I was able to actually listen through. I've learned that audiobooks aren't for me. Something about the process of starting an audiobook is hard for me. I don't know. It takes me a while. And if I don't like the way that it's narrated, it ain't ever gonna happen. But I was able to get through A Study in Drowning, and I really enjoyed it. The story was very intriguing to me. This book follows a girl named Effie who is obsessed with an author who wrote a book of fairy tales that she read over and over again as a child. She's studying to be an architect, even though she wishes she could be a writer. She goes to school, and the school has an opportunity to do this huge, massive project for this author because he is trying to like preserve the estate and preserve his legacy. And one of the parts is a chance to restore his home to his former glory because it's been run down. And she wins the competition for this, and she's very happy because she'll get to meet her favorite author. She gets there and she finds out that she has to work with another student who's writing his biography. It's kind of enemies to lovers, forced proximity, and things like that. Things start happening in this very old, creepy, haunted mansion. I have a bachelor's degree in interior design, and I really enjoyed following Effie and the design and the architectural portion of this. They described the mansion beautifully, and I really appreciated that. I really loved the build up to the love story between Effie and the boy whose name I forget, Preston. I really love the way that Effie and Preston get together, and that dynamic I thought was very, very sweet, and the analogy that was used in this. I really enjoyed it. I want to read the physical copy because I just feel like it'll be a really great experience, but this does give me back to school vibes since they're doing a class project and high stakes. More like, I would say probably first quarter or like finals week kind of thing, but I think still fits the theme, and I just wanted a chance to talk about it, to be honest. Next up, we have a book I haven't read. I recently thrifted this. I went to the thrift store and somebody just dumped all of their most popular online books, and I just thought, good for me, because I have a book channel and I need to make content. So that worked out. But it is The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I know that this is set in a school. I believe it's a boarding school. There's boys. I believe someone dies. It's apparently intense. I've also heard that The author is racist and their portrayal of Black and people of color is offensive. But I also would like to know for myself, and not having to give the author any money worked out, but I do feel like this gives back to school fall vibes. I'm interested to see what everyone's talking about with this and see what my opinions might be on it. So I also have a book that I read in my youth. I was probably 14 or 15 when I read this book, but it is The Earth, My Butt, and Other Big Round Things by Carolyn Mackler. I devoured this book, and from what I remember about it, it follows this girl who is fat. She's young. It opens with her having a awkward first sexual experience with a boy, and this boy pretends that she doesn't exist otherwise, but then they have these hookups quite often. She knows that she's embarrassed because she's fat, but like he keeps coming over here. It just follows a young fat girl just finding self-love and finding neutrality in her body and starting to love herself. And I remember it being a huge factor in my self-esteem growing up as a fat person, as a person who was raised as a young fat girl. Would love to reread this and see what my thoughts are 15 years later. I do remember it starting at the beginning of the school year because there's a lot going on with her at school. So what we have next is a book that I read last year, I think, around this time, and that is Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This follows a young girl named Patricia, I believe, who is currently in college, and it's the beginning. It's like the first semester. She's in a sorority. She's like the president, and she takes her job very seriously. She's a very serious, dutiful student. One day, she finds one of her roommates and friends killed, and it follows her trying to find the person who murdered her best friend, and it is based off of the victims of a very famous serial killer who does not need to be known because you know who I'm talking about, because this is set in the 70s. Young college age women were his victim type, so I'm sure you can put those pieces together. I do feel like this gives back to school fall vibes, being in school and studying, and there's a lot of that going on. I did really enjoy this book. It made me think about a lot of things as somebody who used to watch a lot of true crime as entertainment and has since really limited that and very specific on the type of content that I will watch. It was very interesting to be called out in some situations for that, and then also know a lot about the case and can really put those Easter eggs together. Has a dual perspective in this, and the other perspective is from another victim, also was taken off the earth by this man, and her life leading up to it. And I think it really highlights the victims. A lot of their stories were mirrored in the two characters and the situations that they were in. I thought it was a really good commentary on how we treat victims of these crimes and how we focus on the brilliance of the attacker, not the people that they took from us. And I would recommend this. I think if you watched a lot of true crime back in the day and have since reformed from that, or maybe still watch true crime now and want to have a difficult look in the mirror, I think that's a really great book. Get that ball rolling. So this book I have not read, but I'm curious to do, and I've heard a lot about it. I know it's a lot of people's favorites. I know a lot of people, the girlies, obsess over this, so I'm curious to see what the hype is. And I've also never read anything from this author either, so this will be my first look into them. But that is Bunny by Mona Awad. This follows a group of girls who are going to school. They kind of get a collective consciousness, I guess. And I do believe most of this is set in school, so that's what's giving me back to school kind of vibes. It's giving the Heathers, like very that. Let me know if you've read Bunny or The Secret History and your thoughts on it, because whether you liked it or not, if you think it's worth reading, things you want me to look out for while reading that, I'd be curious to know. This book is, read this book a while ago. It was right when I started really getting into reading and I started buying books again, and it's Godly Heathens by H.G. Edgman. I really enjoyed this book. It's written by a trans author, and it is about young queer people going to school and also fighting demons and realizing that they're all immortal beings that have been interacting with each other since the beginning of time. And it's very interesting how they balance the idea that you think you're just like a high school student trying to graduate and make it and turn 18 and get out of this tiny shit town, that you're also an immortal being that's been around since the dawn of time. There's a lot of queer representation. I saw myself in so many characters. I wish a book like this was written when I was younger. Like high school age, I would have eaten this up and felt so seen, and I'm jealous of people who get to read this now at that age. I would really recommend this. I would love to read more of their books. I know that this is in a trilogy. I believe the second one's out, but the third one isn't. And I would love to dig deeper into that. Very much enjoyed this read. Let me know if you've read this or your thoughts on the author. I'd be curious to know. Where Sleeping Girls Lie. This is also by Frida Abike-Yeremi. This follows a girl who is going to a private boarding school. She's a new student there, and her roommate disappears, and she has to figure out what happened to her. I started this but didn't finish it. I think I got about halfway through and I just decided to move on to something else, but I did want to come back to it. I thought the story was compelling, but it wasn't the right time to be reading it. You know, like sometimes the vibe is off. But I was enjoying this way more than Ace of Spades. I was really intrigued by it. Also had a lot of great representation in the characters. I was curious what the big thing was. It wasn't as obvious as it was to me in Ace of Spades. I like to see the progression of this writer. So next up is a book that was a required reading for me in school, which is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. This follows a girl named Kit who is growing up in Alabama in the 50s, I want to say 40s, 50s. She's young and she's going to school. She's living her life, and her dad becomes a lawyer for a black man who was accused of assaulting a woman, I believe. See it from her perspective. She's going to school. It's fall time, Halloween, and happened during this book. It has always given me back to school vibes. I never finished it. I never finished this book for my assignment. So I would like to do that and see how it ends, but you know, I kind of didn't have to. Let's put it that way. 15-year-old me didn't have to. And next up is another required reading. When I was in college, I took a biology class and I had a really cool teacher. She had a master's in paleontology. Fun fact about me, I wanted to be a paleontologist so bad as a kid. They were science. I had the idea of digging up dinosaur bones was so cool to me. I loved Jurassic Park. Was obsessed with dinosaurs for a minute when I was a kid. I think they're so cool, and we had a lot to talk about. Anyway, she gave the class assigned reading, and that book was Ishmael, An Adventure of the Mind and Spirit by Daniel Quinn. I also didn't finish this book, and I had to give my copy back, but I did find it at a thrift store. That was really exciting. This book follows a man who I believe gets a mysterious letter to go to a specific location. At this location, he finds a giant sentient talking gorilla. This gorilla gives him lessons in life, homework, and things to think about, and there's a lot of philosophy in it. And this has always just given me back to school vibes. I really enjoyed it. Wish I could have finished it. And then next up is this is a book that I read, and it's not necessarily anything I wouldn't say it's a good book, but I did enjoy reading it. It definitely is set in the back to school fall time, and it's definitely set in a school, so it fits the theme regardless, and that is Immortal Dark by Tigris Girma. I read this for my dark African fantasy reading theme, which should be up soon after this. And I thought this book was fun. It follows a girl named Kidan who is forced to enroll in a super magical vampire school against her will. It's a place where humans and vampires live together communally, and it's dark academia. There's enemies to lovers, I guess, question mark. I'm still out on that. People say that's what it is. I disagree. I think if you're feeling kind of like, maybe if you read like a very serious heavy book, or a book that really took a lot of brain power and you just want to like a break but want to make sure you're maintaining your reading schedule, this is great for that. It is just popcorn junk food. I do think Tigris is a good writer. I think this book was half-baked, but it was fun. I did have fun, and that's what's important. I would be interested to read something else written by Tigris. I think she has a very interesting voice, and I appreciated a lot of the atmosphere that she was able to lay. I feel like I'm losing my voice. I have a weird vibrato in it that I'm not enjoying the sound of. But anyway. Yeah, so I would recommend this if you are just wanting to maintain your reading schedule and want something light and silly. Perfect. I had fun while reading it, and that's what's important. So that is my recommendations for books that are back to school vibes. Please like, comment, and subscribe so I can all together now. Quit my 9 to 5. Yes, that's it. I really appreciate it. Even though YouTube is making it impossible to be monetized on this platform, every little bit helps. You know, watch my videos a couple times. If you really want me to like take off and you think I'm chill and cool, watch my video, start it from the beginning and put it on mute and go do something else, or watch, you know, the next video after. Help me up my views. I would really appreciate that. So according to my analytics, 6 of you are subscribers who watch my videos as they come up. So I really appreciate you. I'm not sure who you are, but you know, shout out. I appreciate that, and the likes and you know, the comments that you've left me have been really nice. I don't get too many comments, but I would love to get more. I would love to be chatty with you all and hear your thoughts and feelings about the things I discuss and bring up here. Let me know if you read any of these books. Let me know if you have any books to add to the back to school vibes. Start a little conversation. Let's build a community here. Somebody has to start, and I already uploaded it, so you all gotta, you know, do the other part. I hope you're doing well and your quality of life is tolerable and you're drinking water and have food. Give you a nice little escape talking about books and hanging out with me. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. I'm gonna go. I'm rambling now. I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!